اتمام برسانیم تا همگی به وقت به خانه خود برسانیم. Maybe I should do it in English. Khwara Aziz, can I please request the sisters to please keep quiet? That worked better. Okay, so we're going to start with the first night's program, inshallah. As announced in the WhatsApp group, the program will start with namaz. After namaz, we'll have dinner. After dinner, we'll have lecture, inshallah. When the time changes, next week, Sunday, March 9th, we'll have dua iftitah before namaz. And we'll also have the Quran recitation before namaz, inshallah, because we'll have more time. But right now, because the days are shorter, we'll start right away with namaz, and then we'll have lecture, dinner, lecture, and we'll end the program, inshallah. Also, we have the kids workshop in the cafeteria. That's designed for kids for age between 5 and 12. If you have kids aged between 5 and 12, you can send them to the cafeteria. It's an educational workshop for the kids. If you have kids under 5, you can be with them in the cafeteria and take care of them. But with all due respect, it's not a hangout area during the lecture, so please make sure you keep quiet. خواهران عزیز، برادران گرامی، برنامه شب اول ماه مبارک رمضان قسمی که قبلا اعلان شد تا 8 ماه مبارک رمضان هر روزه با نماز مغرب آغاز میشه. تاریخ 9 مارچ که ساعت‌ها 1 ساعت به جلو میره، برنامه هم همچنان همون قسم 1 ساعت ناوقت‌تر آغاز میشه و از تاریخ 9 مارچ انشاءالله که برنامه دعای افتتاح و برنامه جلسه محفل انس با قرآن قبل از نماز شام انشاءالله برگزار است. عزیزان اشتراک کنن. ولی تا تاریخ 8 مارچ انشاءالله دعای افتتاح بعد از سخنرانی تلاوت میشه. و همچنان کسایی که اطفالشان بین سنین 5 تا 12 سال است میتونند در ورکشاپ آموزشی که برشان در نظر گرفته شده، طلبکارا و کسایی که داوطلبانه این مسئولیت به عهده گرفتن، زحمت کشیدن، ورکشاپ آماده ساختن، میتونین که اطفالتان رو بفرستین تا از مسائل آموزشی از اونا بهره مند شون. کسایی که اطفالشان پایینتر از 5 سال است اونا میتونن که همچنان در کفتریا تشریف ببرن و اونجا باشن. We'll start with tonight's program, inshallah, with the recitation of Quran Kareem by our dear brother Hassan. Please recite aloud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من جاء بالحسنة فله 10 أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون قل إنني هداني ربي إلى صراط مستقيم دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له لا شريك له لا شريك له لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
Sister Khadija.
من مکش هستم خدا را می پرستم خدای پاک و دانا مهربان و توانا پیامبرم محمد که با او آن آمد دینا به ما رسانده او ما را شیخانده دختر او زهرا بود فاطمه کبرا بود فرایرین شد جان است لعنت به دشمنانت در روز عید قدیر و ما علی شد امیر علی مومنین است امام اولین است امام دوم ما بخشنده بود و تنها نام ایشان حسن بود صبور را سخن بود صبور و سخن بود حسین که شاهدین است امام صفومین است شهید کربلا شد تربت بوش فا شد تربت بوش فا شد وقتی که آب میخورم و او سلام میکنم و او سلام میکنم و او سلام میکنم چهارم امام سجاد به ما دعا حیات داد اره کنن دعاها پرمانیمون تو سیبا پرمانیمون تو سیبا پنجم امام باقر صبور بود و بالم اگرچه زندان بود محلمون جوان بود محلمون جوان بود امام هشتم ما امام رضا والا امیدی شیعیان است جهت مهربان است نهم امام نقی حاتق مرتقی صلوات.
Let us remind ourselves on fiqh, laws of fasting. Fasting means abstaining from certain things from the moment of Fajr to Maghrib, with the niyyah of Rabbitin in Allah. Swam is also known as Roza in Urdu and Farsi. Every Baligh Muslim must fast during the whole month of Ramadan. Niyyah, intention. In the month of Ramadan, on the first night, one can make the niyyah to fast the whole month and remain with that niyyah until the month ends. Or one can make the niyyah for each day separately. Other than the month of Ramadan, one must make a separate niyyah for each day, whether they are few or many, wajib or mustahab. During Swam, we have to abstain from 9 actions or things. These are known as muftarat, which means those things that make Swam batil. Some muftarat are eating intentionally, drinking intentionally, vomiting intentionally, letting dust or smoke enter the throat, taking liquid enema, speaking, writing, or conveying by sign a lie about Allah or the Masumin. All these break the Swam if they are done intentionally. If a person forgets that he is Saim, one who is fasting, and eats or drinks, then his Swam is correct. Salawat.
Very good job. Please recite aloud salawat for Brother Hassan, Brother Ali, Sister Tina, and Sister Khadija. Please recite aloud salawat. Without further ado, please help me welcome our dear respected brother, Dr. Shakil Virji, to the member with a loud salawat.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Before we begin, just a couple of quick announcements. As you all know, Brother Sabir Azizi and his family are visiting I was told that today is the death anniversary of Brother Sabir's mother. So as a community, let us remember by reciting a Surah Fatiha and pray for her maghfirah, inshallah. Surah Al-Fatiha. We're also told that Brother Farhad Muradi is not well. He's not feeling well and is in need of dua for complete recovery. So let us recite the Ayat al-Karimah 5 times to remember all of the people who are sick and pray for their quick and complete recovery, inshallah. Please join me. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Louder, brother and sister. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. صلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتاب مبين والقرآن المجيد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Indeed, we are at the end of the first day of fasting during this holy month of Ramadan. And, while our stomachs are full after the day of hunger, I don't know whether this speech is going to put people to sleep. I hope not. But if it is, it's going to make my life a little bit easier. We saw the children here who came and recited the Quran, which is really a wonderful thing because this is the month of Quran. And we should try and encourage it more for our kids to try and recite more and more, inshallah. The month of Ramadan, if we ask some individuals, we talk, all of us, and we hear people, for example, sometimes who will say, oh my God, the month of Ramadan is over here, we're going to start fasting again, and in a very complaining kind of a note. They are not too happy about the idea that they have to wake up in the morning and not have their cup of coffee, or when they are at work or at school, they cannot break for lunch. They are sleep deprived because they're waking up in the middle of the night to do suhoor, and they just can't wait until the month of Ramadan is over, because if you talk to them towards the end of the month of Ramadan and you ask them, I'm glad we only have 2 days to go, this month is over. But then there are other people who we talk to who have exactly the opposite feeling about this, have the opposite emotions. They'll say, oh my God, this month is going away too fast. I wish it was a little bit longer. I wish that it was all the time month of Ramadan. And when you hear that, you have to stop and pause and say, what is the difference between that person who wants the month of Ramadan to come and go as quickly as possible, and the one who really wants to extend it, who is enjoying it? The month of Ramadan is actually bringing a lot of pleasure to that person. And we have to try and find and identify what is it, in the terms of the difference between these two people. Now, if we were to ask the question that which of the two is on the right path, according to our holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, and the ordinances within the Quran, the answer is obviously the person who is enjoying it, because he or she is getting out of this month what this month is supposed to give you. That's why they want to be in it. They are in their comfort zone. They're enjoying it. It's spiritually uplifting for them. compared to the one who wants to get it over and done with. And if the Holy Prophet has told us this is the month, and there is a sermon just that he gave just before the beginning of the month of Ramadan, during the last Jummah of the month of Shaban. And he was telling, oh people, this month is coming upon you, and he describes it. Says it's a month whose days are better than any days, and whose nights are better than any nights. He describes them as, that the person who only breathes during this Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is counting his breathing as a tasbih, as glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's counting the person who is sleeping as if that person is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during this month. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving out freebies. Sawab, reward during this month is on sale. Not only is on sale, it's being distributed freely. As long as the person who values what this sawab is ready to participate in it, engage in it, and try to earn it. So the person who is not really happy about the month of Ramadan, does he get the sawab for breathing? Is his breathing or her breathing tasbih? Of course it is. Is that person's sleep ibadat? Of course it is. And the person is getting the reward, yet that person is not realizing the value of the reward that is being given. That's why he wants to get out of this as quickly as possible. Now, the khutbah of Rasulullah is a long one, and I just want to, just highlight some of the things, just to get this lecture going. He also says that in this month, all our a'mal are accepted. There is no filtration system, that some is rejected and some is accepted. No filters. Everything is going through. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that in this month, if you give charity to orphans, charity anytime is good. But in this month, especially if you give charity to orphans, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make sure that if your children are orphaned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect them. What is it about this month that Allah is giving out all these things? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that in this month, lighten the burden of your sins, of the mistakes that you have made. How? By increasing the length of the sujood. When you go to prostrate, increase the length of it. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah says, I will lift the burden of sins, from your back. He says, if you give iftar, if you provide iftar, so we're marketing, people should try and sponsor more of this. If you sponsor iftar, if you provide iftar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He will take the hellfire from the necks of the people. This is the value. And somebody who was in the audience asked, Ya Rasulullah, I can't afford to have an elaborate iftar for people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them, just give them a date or a glass of water. That also counts. It's easy. I'm not making it hard for you guys. In this month, you do all these things, and these are the things that you will get. He says that improve your akhlaq, improve your manners in this month. And he says that you will get a free ride on the sirat on the day of judgment. When people will be slipping and falling off, you, by improving your akhlaq in this month, you're going to be able to walk right through this. And so on and so forth. Here again, my dear brothers and sisters, we come to this question. I just described this, and for many of us, we have heard this khutbah of Rasulullah many times. This is not the first Ramadan that somebody is reciting this khutbah of Sha'ban of Rasulullah. Why is it not having an effect on people? And one of the answers, it could be many answers, but one of the answers for this is that people have not realized the value of the reward and the freebies that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving during this month. Let me put it a different way. When I was thinking about this example, I was thinking about using a monkey or a chimpanzee but I use a little child. If somebody comes and has cash money, $1 million in cash or $100,000 in cash, and throws it in front of a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old child, this child will just look at it, not knowing what you've just given, what you've just put in front of them. They have no idea. They don't even understand the difference between a stack of $100,000 and the stack of $1 million. It all looks the same to them. But reach into your pocket and take out a piece of candy in front of this child. The child will immediately react to that because they know this is delicious, this is good. If I take it right now and I eat it, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to get immediate satisfaction and immediate gratification when I eat this piece of candy. This $100,000, this $1 million that is sitting in front of me doesn't mean anything to this child. They have no idea what you've just put in front of them. They're looking at that piece of candy. And when you are giving treats, right? For an animal, if you're training an animal, and the animal does what you want it to do while you are training it, you treat it, you give it something to eat. And the animal will eat it, and there will be a time when that animal, when they see you, they will start to do that thing hoping that you will give it the treat. Similarly with a child, when you have taught them, for example, you have asked them to memorize Surah Al-Ikhlas, and then you say to the child, recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, and the child recites it, and you give them a piece of candy. Child is happy. Next day you ask them to do something else. They do it, and you give them a treat, and they're happy. The third day, the child will come in front of you, and without you asking, they will recite the surah, hoping that you will give them the piece of candy. And everything revolves around what? The realization that the reward I'm going to get for any effort that I'm going to put into this is going to be immediate, and I'm going to enjoy it right away. Now tell that 3-year-old or that 4-year-old that, Baba, when you turn 18, I'm going to buy you a big house, or I'm going to set up a business for you, or I'm going to, do something, I'm going to leave you a big inheritance. What is that 3-year-old going to understand when you tell them all these things? This, my dear brothers and sisters, is exactly what is happening to many of us, because we hear about these rewards that we are going to get, this abstract idea. We believe, we have faith that it does exist, but this idea of the hereafter and being able to enjoy the rewards of this hereafter, at that time, is something that my mind right now cannot imagine. And because I am not getting immediate gratification, and I'm not getting immediate taste of what this thing is going to be later on, I tend to become lazy and careless and heedless. Now all of these rewards, your sleep is ibadat, your breathing is tasbih, you feed, you give charity in this month is multiplied so many times, okay, because I can't see it. I cannot measure the value of all of it. So I tend to, become a little bit skeptical, but not even skeptical, become lazy about it. We all have iman, we believe in all of these things, but we don't pursue it actively because we think that we have time, and someday, inshallah, we will come and we will try to do this. There is a problem here, my dear brothers and sisters, because I just talked about those people who want the month of Ramadan to pass away quickly. But what about those people who are actually in this month having a lot of pleasure and enjoying this month? They are not tasting the reward of the akhirah. It's not in front of them yet. They're not getting their candy today. But what happens to them is through inspiration by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is really important, because I can't describe it, or nobody can describe it. You have to go and feel it yourself. Through inspiration by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that ruhani rising that you feel during this month by the increase, in your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, immediately gives you that pleasure that far outreaches, beats the taste of a piece of candy. And if you get to that point, inshallah, you and I pray for myself as well, when you get to that point, you will reach the idea that I don't want this month to end. Every one of us, at some point in time, while we were worshipping, while we were doing an act of worship, of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have sat down maybe with the Quran or with the dua, and we have felt that connection. And if you have, you will understand what I mean by the highest level of pleasure while you are engaged in this situation. It's not easy, and it doesn't come quickly. You know, like when the doctor tells you that you have a high cholesterol and you have a high sugar and you have to start watching your diet, after one day of eating vegetables, if you go in the next day, you get and do your blood test, the sugar is still going to be high. It's going to take some time for you to do those things that have been recommended before the effects start to, enlighten within you. One of the things that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In this khutbah, he also states something. He says, during this month, the shayateen, the shaitan, is also chained, is imprisoned. Shayateen cannot have, for the most part, any kind of influence on the believers. These are words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then why is it that during this month, there are people who are still slipping, who are still making mistakes, who are still doing as if shaitan is influencing them? So to illustrate that, and inshallah over the next 3 days, I'm going to bring some stories from the Quran to try and illustrate some of the things that are in this khutbah. So for today, I want us to just focus on one historical incident that is described in the Quran, and there are parts of it that have been extracted from Biharul Anwar to try and illustrate this part about shaitan being chained, and what is it about the human nature that even without the influence of shaitan, we can still fall into the trap. And only after we start falling into the trap that shaitan comes and influences us. And it's a story that all of you and all of us have kind of heard, the story of the children of Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, Habil and Qabil. When we were in Syria, some days going back years ago, there was a tour that was going up into the mountains, and if you ask them, where are you going? They say, we're going to the graves of Habil and Qabil. There is no such thing. Because if you look at the historical incident, Qabil killed Habil, he buried Habil into the grounds, and then he disappeared into the mountains. There is no way that the two people's graves are in the same place. These are all made up stuff. But here is the story according from the Holy Quran, from the narration, inshallah. It so happened that Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam and his wife, Lady Hawa, their first child was a girl, and there is something that happens with it that's not part of the story, but the first son that they had was Qabil. Qabil was the elder son of Prophet Adam and Bibi Hawa. Few years later, Habil was born, the second son was born. And life was going on. There are narrations about how they got married and so on and so forth, which is not part of our story today. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and he says to him that I have decided that I am not going to leave the earth, the dunya, without any kind of guidance at any point in time. And it's a long discussion, but at the end of this discussion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Prophet Adam alayhi salam that for this purpose, for this guide, I am appointing your younger son, Habil, to take on the job of being your successor. Now, we're talking about a time when there were 4 people on the surface of this earth, and the 2 wives of Habil and Qabil, they were not humans, according to the narrations. One was a jinn and one was a hawra from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted for them. That's a different part of the scheme. But in terms of humans, there were only 4 people on this earth. Many people, when they get into shaitaniyat, they get into things that are out of the realm of Islam, disobedience of the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they'll come out and they'll say that it's the environment. The environment that we live in is influencing us. Whether it's the social media or the school or whatever it is that we go to, and the peer pressure and all of these things are influencing our actions. What was influencing those people during the time of Prophet Adam, Bibi Hawa and the 2 sons? There was nothing. There's no social media, there is no outside influence, there's nothing. It's just the 4 of them. There's absolutely no outside influence that is affecting the decisions that the people are making. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses Habil to be the successor of Prophet Adam alayhi salam, Qabil didn't take it well. He wasn't happy with it. Okay? Was this shaitan? No. Shaitan has, has not even started to influence you. This is human nature. This is all of us. It's not necessarily a bad thing to feel that, oh, I wish I got something. It's not a bad thing. But it's what you do with that feeling that becomes the problem. So Qabil feels that, that this didn't work out for me. I'm the older son. I should, from where he got the law, I don't know. But I should be the one who should be the successor of Adam alayhi salam. So then, what was put forth for them was to make a sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever sacrifice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was going to accept was going to become the successor of Prophet Adam alayhi salam. So Habil, who was a farmer, these are narrations from our books, who was a farmer, picks a nice sheep or an animal from his farm, a healthy one, a good one, and he did it with that desire to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He picked the best of what he could give, and he put that for a sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the other hand, Qabil, who was a farmer, he went out and he got grains. The descriptions say in Biharul Anwar, I'm taking this from a book by Sayyid Rizwan Arastu that I was reading. Okay, he says that he picked the grains that even the milling stone that you would use to try and grind this grain, they could not break this grain down. It was so bad. It was so hard. So he decided to take something inferior. So, sometimes when we think we are doing something good, and we want to give clothes away for charity, we don't look the new ones. We look at the old ones, the ones that, we've done with. And that's how we give, and we feel good about ourselves. This is what Qabil was doing. He was picking something that he was rejecting himself, and the narration says even his animals would not eat it. And he put that to sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Shaitan has not even entered the realm yet. This is just the fitrat of insan, reacting to what is happening around them. So I'm going to prove myself. But this selfishness, this insecurity that he was feeling about not giving the best of what we had is not an influence of shaitan, it was him. Now, there is a narration that when you put these things out for sacrifice, a fire would come from the skies and would consume the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted as his sacrifice. The Jewish have this inside the traditions, and this is also reflected because in the verse of the Quran, a similar verse is cited, that the sacrifice of Habil was accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when the fire came and consumed what Habil had put out, and the sacrifice of Qabil was completely rejected. This was the proof that they had that in fact Habil was the rightful successor for Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Qabil's reaction. He felt indignant, he was jealous, he was angry. Then shaitan came in. That was the time. Right now he was feeling what he was feeling. He wasn't doing anything with it. He was just feeling it. Then shaitan comes into him and he says, you know what? Your progeny is going to remember this day when you have been outsmarted and outdone by your younger brother who is becoming the inheritor of your father, and they will mock you for the entire of their life. There is only one way you can stop this from moving forward. This is shaitan now. And then shaitan is saying the way to do it is to go ahead and eliminate the problem. Kill Habil. This was shaitan's idea. Now when Qabil approaches Habil, and the verses in the Quran say, لَيَقْتُلَنَّكَ, I am going to kill you. There's a conversation between the two brothers. And Habil tells him that it's not my fault that your sacrifice was not accepted. Allah accepts the sacrifice of the muttaqi, the one who puts out the sacrifice sincerely. Your problem, it's not Habil's, my words, okay, is that rather than trying to figure out what I did wrong, what was my mistake, where did I lack in my own actions, is to try and blame me, Habil in this sense. And instead of fixing myself, I try to eliminate the problem, and this is exactly what happened. Qabil ended up killing his brother. And as soon as he's done that, he strikes, and when Habil falls to the ground, immediately that passion, that anger from him evaporates, and he realizes of shame, oh my God, what did I do? And he didn't even know what to do. There's a story continues. He didn't even know what to do with the body. A crow comes from and buries a worm or something in the ground. From that he realizes that this is what needs to be done to dispose the body. So I'm coming back to this, my brothers and sisters, that here, in a place where there was no external influence of any kind, there was no social media, there was no peer pressure, there was no external influence. Okay? Shaitan did not even start his work. Okay, this problem started from how Qabil was beginning to feel. Again, I repeat myself. The feelings that Qabil had initially, oh my God, why did my dad pick my brother instead of me, is natural. This is what creates ambition in us. This is what causes us to struggle and to get better with everything. We need to take it and use it positively to try and enhance and better ourselves. So in this month, if those kinds of things are happening to us, we need to identify them. Because Shaitan now is not there to influence you and me, to take this to the next level. To take this to the next level where Qabil ended up killing his brother. The feelings are there. The feeling, I wouldn't call it jealousy, I would call it envious. Yeah, somebody is better than you at something. It's good to feel like, I wish I was like that. But then you don't go kill the guy. You work hard and you become like that person. That's what needs to be done. So in every facet of life, the nature of human being, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, He has created us in a way that we will feel these things. And what we need to do is to draw a barrier between ourselves and the influence of Shaitan, which, according to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in this month does not exist. So when you have this barrier of Shaitan eliminated completely from our path, what does that mean? It means that when I want to start rising towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if I want to start rising spiritually, and there is no barrier in front of me, my speed to get there, I'm not talking about get there yani to die or something, but to get in close connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that speed now is highly increased during this month. But all you and I have to realize is that I want to take advantage of this. We've just started. This is day one. As the days are coming along, my dear brothers and sisters, okay, it is time for us to rise up and to start connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are other things I want to talk about. We'll leave it for tomorrow, inshallah. But just let us bear in mind, my dear brothers and sisters, that Ramadan is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has not done this to torture us. He has not done this to make it difficult for us. He has made it what He has made it because in His wisdom, this is only going to make you and I better human beings, complete human beings, and is going to draw us closer to His presence. And on the day of judgment, our outcomes, inshallah, are going to be that we will enter paradise, inshallah wa ta'ala. Let us raise our hands and pray. Ilahi bihaqi Fatimatu abiha baliha wa baniya wa sil mustawda'i fiha adadi ma ahata bihi ilmuk. Ilahi, we pray to you that make this month a month that counts on our behalf for us to be able to achieve what you have designed it for, and for us to be not only achieve it during the month, but to be able to hold on to it for the rest of the year, inshallah, and for the rest of our lives. Please recite the salawat.